pleasure to welcome you all here this evening to listen to a soul-searching talk, Meditation for the Modern Age, by Param Sant Rajinder Singh Ji Maharaj, who is an internationally acclaimed saint cum scientist. He is the president of the World Council of Religions. Sant Rajinder Singh Ji has been teaching the art of meditation, Surat Shabd Yoga, and spreading the message of universal brotherhood, global peace, and unity of mankind around the globe. Sant Rajinder Singh Ji presents spirituality clearly and directly in simple, easy to understand language, advocating a balance between inner and outer life. He encourages people to fulfill their responsibilities towards their families, towards the society, while pursuing a spiritual life of inner realization and personal development. Dedicated to help the humanity, he says, it is only when each individual has achieved inner peace that we will see lasting peace on this earth. Through his ability to make the teachings easily understood by people, he presents spirituality as a modern science which can be practiced as an experiment within the laboratory of our human body. He was one of the 4 spiritual saints to address a special Millennium Peace Summit session of the United Nations. He was a major presenter at 1993 Parliament of the World's Religion in Chicago, and he participated in the 50th anniversary of the United Nations program, during which he led thousands into the meditation. Actively committed to human unity and harmony, Sant Rajinder Singh Ji has been honored by religious leaders, heads of the states worldwide, including International Peace Award by United Nations. He sponsors and participates in interfaith activities in America, Europe, and India, where hundreds of thousands of people come together to focus on spirituality, human unity, and oneness at the heart of all religions. He emphasizes prayer and meditation as true building blocks for achieving peace. He travels extensively throughout the world, conducting meditation seminars, giving talks on the inner enlightenment, and sharing his message on the radio and television with millions of people. He has written numerous books and articles about spirituality which have been translated into over 55 languages. Sant Rajinder Singh Ji Maharaj is also the head of Sawan Kirpal Ruhani Mission, India, and Science of Spirituality, USA. Sawan Kirpal Ruhani Mission is a global non-profit spiritual organization under his guidance. Disciples at Sawan Kirpal Ruhani Mission are hundreds and thousands of people of all nationalities, races, faith, deeply committed to a spiritual way of life based on meditation, service to others, and personal transformation. The mission, with its headquarters in Delhi and the North American headquarters in Naperville, Illinois, USA, known as Science of Spirituality. Raising our consciousness to experience God's light within ourselves is the primary mission of Sawan Kirpal Ruhani Mission. It is this practical experience of oneness of ourselves with God and of all beings with each other that leads to true peace and fulfillment. It is now my privilege to request Param Sant Rajinder Singh Ji Maharaj to kindly enlighten us with his thoughts on the today's topic, meditation for the modern age. Param Sant Rajinder Singh Ji Maharaj.
As we look at the world today, we find that each and every one of us is living in an age in which there are tremendous activities which are going on around us. We get up in the morning and all of us have so many things to do that we all generally have a time schedule. We have a things to do list. We try to put in as much as we can in our day. And then in the process of trying to either interact with the community or trying to interact with the people at work or trying to have a businesses grow or be able to help others in the community, we find that by the end of the day, we are quite stressed out. We live in an age where there is a lot of interaction that is happening between us and others. And the effects of the day-to-day life are such that most of us today are feeling that there are too many things to do and not enough time to pack in everything that we want to do. And therein comes the difficulties of life. We look at the lives of our forefathers, and we think about them living on the farms, getting up early in the morning, taking care of whatever was needed on an agriculture basis, and then having the rest of the day to themselves. And we always talk about the good old days, the golden days, which we feel were prevalent when our forefathers were living. But today, as technology has advanced, it seems like people need responses very, very quickly. There was a time maybe 50 years ago where we used to write letters to get information to someone. For those of you who are business leaders, you used to do business by correspondence. You maybe then got the telex to send your messages, and then came the faxes, and now with the mobile phones you have all these emails and instant messages, and it just seems like as soon as you get a message you have to respond. Gone are the days when you got something today and you could respond in a day or 2 or 3. Today it looks like everyone wants like instant gratification. We get some information, we need to get it, and in the process of like trying to provide that information, we're running from one place to another. And what does that do to us? Is that the kind of life we want to lead? Are we happy? Are we more joyous than our forefathers were? Are we in a state where at the end of the day, we feel, oh, I did a tremendous job today, and everything that I did brought a lot of joy, not only to me, but also to others? Or are we leading lives in which we just feel we are behind the 8 ball, we are behind in everything that we do, everything that needs to be done in our life? It looks like, we could only do 50% of it or 60% of it, or we never got to what we wanted to do. And a time comes in everyone's lives when one sits down to take a look at what truly is happening to us. So today, as we have the seminar, I think it's an opportunity to focus on where our life is going and look at life from a different angle. Many of us are working fast and furiously to be able to build a small empire around us, whether it be a business empire, whether it be our political empire, whether it be our social empire, whether it be areas where we mingle with others so that our effects could be with other people. And the reason we try to do this is we feel that that is what will bring us happiness. As an individual, we always want to grow. So we want to grow at the physical level and at the mental level. Those are the 2 levels that we feel are very, very important. So as a child is growing, the parents are always trying their very best that the physical health of the baby is good. So the baby is nourished properly. Milk is provided at the right time on a daily basis. Good nourishing food is provided to the baby so that the baby is healthy. And as the baby becomes a child, we send them to school. And if we look at what is the purpose of sending a child to school, is to enhance their mental capabilities. We've realized over the years that those people whose intelligence is sharper, whose knowledge base is stronger, whose attention is deeper, are the ones who do well in life, or supposedly do well in life. So the systems that have been set up all around the globe are such where as the child grows and is going into being a young adult, that we train them. We give them schooling, we have them learn our cultures, we have them learn the languages of the nation, we have them learn physics, chemistry, maths, sociology, history, geography, so that they are familiar with this world. So when the child is about 20, 21, 22, when they have gone through their schooling, then we feel they're ready to be in the workforce. And so they get their first jobs. They either, are in businesses with the parents, or they work someplace, and they are in the process of putting into practice whatever they've learned. And based on the kind of training that they got is the kind of remuneration that they get. If someone's a doctor or a dentist or a software engineer these days, or an engineer or an accountant, they get certain amount of money. If someone has not gone to school, and if they are in the workforce, they could work in the factories or taking care of the laborious job, they get lesser pay based on their intelligence. And we as a community have started to say this is more important because the brains of this person have been enhanced, they've gone through a certain process, and now they're ready to be in the workforce. And as people start to work, what are we really working for? To provide for the human body, so we can clothe it, we can give it a place to live in, so we can have housing, we can have transportation. And because we are working so hard, we need some relaxation. And to relax, we have the TVs and the movie theaters and all kinds of entertainment that as human beings we've provided so that one could be relaxed after hard work. Now if we look at the life of a human being, what is really happening? As an adult, we go to work, we make a living, we take care of our families, our spouses, our children, our parents, and as we are doing that, we're getting stressed out. We feel that we should be doing more than we can. Each and every one of us feels that, oh, I should have done this much, little more, I should have done this much more. And as we grow, we see some of our grandparents and parents passing away, and the first feeling all of us had is, we should have spent more time with them. Why didn't we go and see them more? Because we're so caught up in trying to make our own living that the time that we have just goes away in just survival. And so when we start to look at what gives us relaxation, is it watching the movies? Is it watching TV? Is it going to a sports game? Is it like going to a club for entertainment? And if this was going on with all of us, then all of us would be very, very happy. But when we sit down and look at life, we start to feel as if time is passing by, and a feeling starts to come into a human being as to what is going to be happening with me when the time of my death comes. As time goes by, we all start to recognize that death is a part of life, because we see our grandparents, our uncles and aunts, and our people in our neighborhood that we love and care about passing one by one. And as we start to realize that this is bound to happen, one starts to look at their own life more carefully. Generally, we think like death happens to someone else. Very rarely does one think it will happen to us, till it comes very close. As soon as one of our parents passes away, an uncle and aunt who's very close passing away, the realization sets in that this could be happening to us too. And one starts to then think, am I being happy? Am I leading my life as I should be leading? Or should I make some changes? As a human being, we learn. Every day we are learning. Every day is a learning process. Every day we get up, we do new things. We might think that we know it all, but every experience that we have brings in gains to us, knowledge to us. And so, saints and mystics who are always exhorting us to know the truth, to focus on the truth, to be able to focus on what the purpose of this life is, are always exhorting us to focus on how we are leading our lives. That as a human being, are we leading a life which is a fulfilling one, or is all of our time just going away in trying to fulfill our obligations? And when we start to look at a life which is truly, truly happy, then we realize that there's one aspect of life which we have totally forgotten. As a child and as a young person, we focus a lot on a physical being, because if the physical body is pained, then the pain is felt by us. So if we're not doing well, if a child falls down, if something's hurt, if a sickness or a disease comes in, then we go to the doctors to get medication to fix it. Also, we realize the importance of our intelligence, and so we try to fine-tune our intelligence through the schooling process, through learning, through meeting people, through gaining knowledge in one manner or another. And that makes us adaptable to be able to deal with the mental aspects of life. What is missing is our attention on the spiritual side. We all think we are the body, but that's what we see in the mirror when we get up. We see a face which is different than everyone else, and we think to ourselves that that is my face, that is who I am. And so we want to take care of our physical being. Now, as we focus on the physical and the mental aspects, what we forget is that there is something more than the human body. For those of you who've seen someone who's just passed away, you'll see that their body looks exactly the same. You know, their head is there, their eyes are there, their arms are there, their legs are there. The body hasn't shrunk, it hasn't gone away, it hasn't become big. It's exactly the same as it was when the person was alive. But the difference between someone who's dead and who's alive is that that person can neither see, neither can they hear anything, neither can they talk, neither can they walk, neither can they be active in doing something. So what is the difference between someone who's physically passed away and someone who's alive? The power behind the body, what gave it life, is what is called the soul or the Atma or the spirit or the Ruh. And as long as that soul is in the human body, the body functions. As soon as that soul leaves the body for good, never to come back into that human body, you know, the body stops to function. And saints and mystics have been telling us that our soul transmigrates based on our karmas. Karmas are what I would say is very similar to the third law of physics. The third law of physics says that for every action there's a reaction. And so the law of karma says for every thought, word and deed we are held accountable. If we have good thoughts, we have good words, and if we have good deeds, we are rewarded. If we have bad thoughts, we have bad words and bad deeds, then we're punished. It's just like the third law of physics. So, you know, you take a ball and you throw it to the wall, then based on the resilience of the wall, it'll come back to you. And so similarly, every thought, word and deed we are held accountable for. And it's based on that karmas that our next existence comes in. And so what we do in this life is important because it has a tremendous effect on what is going to happen to us further on. And since our soul is transmigrating from one existence to another, it's been collecting karmas. Our soul, our Atma, is a part of Paramatma or a part of God. And we are conscious, we are full of the love and light of God. We are in a state of joy and bliss on the inside, but unfortunately, since we are all shrouded by layers and layers of mind, matter and illusion, we are unable to experience those states of joy and bliss. And so if there was a means of unfolding ourselves, a means by which we can get to our true self, then we would definitely be able to experience the joy and bliss which would last. You go to a movie for, let's say, 3 hours, you enjoy the movie and you're having a lot of fun, but you come back and you know that time is gone because the other aspects of your life are there. Many people, to find the bliss, might have liquor or drugs, which they feel are giving them happiness. But not only is the time short-lived, but you know, many side effects come which bring tremendous difficulties to the life of a person. And so what is it that could give us longer times of being in a state of bliss. Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj was called by the emperor of the times and had an audience with the emperor, and as was very customary, the empress gave him a goblet of wine. And so Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj refused it, saying like, Naam Kumari Nanka Chadi Rahe Din Raat. It means he was telling the emperor that this goblet of wine that you're giving me is going to last for maybe a few hours, might have very bad side effects. But what I experience is what is called Naam, or the Shabd, or the holy word, or the Jyoti or Shruti, or the light and sound of God, or Kalma, or the celestial music, or the harmony of all harmonies. The creative force which brought all creation into being. Kabir Sahib has said very beautifully, and he says, Awwal Allah, Noor Paya, Kudrat ke sab bande, Ek Noor te sab jag upja, Kaun bhale kaun mande. So he's saying, God was in the beginning, whether you call him Allah, or Vaheguru, or God, or Jehovah, or by any other name, or Paramatma. And the creative power came from God. You can call it Naam, or Shabd, or the holy word. These are different names given in different languages to the creative power which brought all creation to being. And so he's saying, since everyone came from the Creator, there's no question of good or bad. It's our vision which makes things good or bad. So as a human being, if we think things are happening as we like them, they are good. If they're contrary to what we are programmed to think, then they're bad for us. And so we take things as we've been programmed, as we are growing up, as we learn. And so even in different cultures, one thing could be good in the same in one culture, and same thing in another culture could be very, very bad, based on the understanding of the people. Someone who speaks in one language might look very sweet to the people who understand the language, and to others it might seem like as if they're fighting. It's based on whatever our experiences are with something. And so we are the ones who look at things and consider them good or bad based on our experiences as we pass through life. Now, karma is very, very interesting, and there's a lot of literature and a lot of talk about karma and how do we get to states which are not going to create karma for us, and what happens with karma. And when you try to understand karma, the saints and mystics talk about three kinds of karmas. They tell us that our soul, which is a part of God, which when separated from the Lord and came into the various regions of existence, was creating karma, because in every existence we have thought, words and deeds. And as we had those thought, words and deeds, so to reap the rewards we would come back, to be punished for whatever bad we did we will come back. And so there are three kinds of karma which are associated with each soul. One is called Sanchit karma. Sanchit karmas are the karmas which is, in English would be like a storehouse of karma. Like in this lifetime we create karma, let's say the karma is this much. And in the next lifetime a part of it is taken, which is called pralabdha karma, which we can call it fate karmas, which is going to happen in your next lifetime. And this is why many things happen in life which you cannot analyze. As an example, let's say there's a small family, and let's say there's a young man in the family who's very, very good, or a young woman who's very, very good, and they're leading their life properly. They could be 18, 19, 20, 21. They sit in a car, go outside, have an accident and pass away. Okay. No one can explain why this thing happened. There's no reason why it would happen, because the person to us seems to be very good. Everything that they do seems to be very good. They're very nice young people, and something happened to them. You find a person who's worked very hard and is very rich, and all of a sudden has a calamity happen in his business and becomes a pauper. There's no explanation. He might analyze and say he didn't take care of his business well, he didn't plan properly, he didn't invest properly, but something happens which is not controllable. There's a poor person, he wins the lottery. He becomes a millionaire. There's no logic which can explain how this person got to that state. So based on our pralabdha karma, there are certain things that happen in our life which you cannot explain in any logical reasoning that the mind can understand. And then there is what is called kriyaman karma. Kriyaman karma is the daily karma that we do. Every day we have thoughts, words and deeds. So every day we are creating new karma. For our good thoughts we are going to be rewarded, for our bad thoughts will be punished. And it's very easy to understand that bad thoughts are very bad for you. But Krishnji Maharaj is explained, I think, in the best manner that one can explain karmas. He said bad karmas are very easy to understand that they're bad. They're like iron chains. Because, in the old times you would take a prisoner and a person who's bad, who's done bad things, you would put them in jail and you would put iron chains to them and put them and tie them, in a room so they don't run away. So he says bad karma is easy to understand because it is very bad. We've done something wrong. We've, taken someone's property. We undermined someone. We lied to someone. We did some wrong thing. So it's easy to understand. To do bad things, we would be punished. But he said good karma is also bad for you. And that is very difficult to understand. When you do good, when you're helping someone, when you're doing something, why is it bad for you? He says those are like golden chains. Because to reap the rewards of those good karmas, you have to come back into this world to reap those rewards. And then you will always be stuck on the wheel of transmigration. And so the saints say we need to get to a state of ne karma, where no karma is being created. And how does one do that? What is it that has no thoughts, no words and no deeds? It's when you sit and meditate. When you focus your attention within. What is happening with the mind? As soon as you sit for a minute or two, you're bombarded with thoughts. In this age where things are very, very hectic, what do? We want to relax. So to relax, what do? We go on a vacation. And in this day and age, what happens on a vacation? When we are on vacation, with all the cell phones and with all the Blackberries and with all the communications and the laptops, we still take them with us. And so we are worried if we miss a big order for our business. We are worried if someone's trying to contact us, they won't contact us. And so even on a vacation, we are working like crazy because we are not truly taking a break. Actually in many countries, because they've had these things happen there a few years before they're happening here in India. There are spas which are coming out where they won't allow you taking your phone call, your mobile phone, your Blackberries, your laptops or anything, because they are creating an atmosphere where you're away from your day-to-day activities. There's an interesting story about a husband and a wife. They went on a vacation. And the wife relaxed a lot and took a lot of pictures and enjoyed herself and, brought the pictures back. And while the husband was there, he's still, working on his business and he's trying to keep contact of what is going back home. And so they come home and the wife calls her friends, for a tea party to show her pictures, which is normal. And as her friends are walking in, they see her husband working in his office, which is in the house. He's kind of keeled over. He looks like he's in very bad shape. So these friends ask her friend, they say, what happened to your husband? Didn't you guys go on a vacation? And she said, yeah, he went on a vacation, but he works so hard that he needs another vacation when he comes back home. That's what happens with most of us. Because we want to take a vacation from the day-to-day activities of our life. But these days, because communication has become so strong, we just feel we will miss something out. How many times do you see on a remote control, whether kids or adults, they flip, you're seeing this channel, that channel. Something important might be happening here or there that you don't want to miss. And so when so much is being bombarded into our brain is going crazy. Just to track all those interactions and to keep track of all that information puts a lot of stress on us. So the key to being on vacation, because vacation is so difficult to go on, we feel every day is so important, every moment is so important, is to try to bring the vocation into your life on a daily basis. That's what meditation is all about. Meditation is a means by which we withdraw from the world outside. It's a means by which we focus on what is within ourselves. It is a means by which we don't let the outside environment affect us. And while we are on vacation on the inside, while our attention is away from the world outside, then we would find the peace and the joy and the happiness and the bliss within. Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj is very beautifully said. He says, "Sab kich ghar mein, bahar nahi, bahar tole so bharam bulai." Everything that we want is within ourselves. All the creative power is within ourselves, all the love and joy is within ourselves. You know, this human body is called the Hari Mandir because God resides here. God is not residing in buildings made of mortar or in places that we think are very spiritual or up in the sky. God is within each and every one of us. And God is the source of all happiness and joy and bliss. What is happening is, instead of focusing on the inside, we are running to the outside to find happiness and joy. We think it'll come through artistic means, so we might enjoy or try to enjoy that part. We think it might come through sports, so we enjoy that part. We think it might come through making a lot of money, so we try to focus our attention there. And so, as we are focusing on the world outside, what is happening is that the time, which is the most precious commodity that we have, is being wasted. You know, all of us, when we come into this world, come with a number of breaths. And so we have a lifespan which is fixed. This is what all our scriptures are telling us. We could live to be 50, 60, 80, 100, or, you know, lifespan is going up as medical technology is going up. But that is fixed. And so every day time is ticking, click, 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 and we're getting closer to that time. And so if we don't make good use of the time that we have, this life will pass us by. And so saints are always telling us that our life is like that of a musk deer. You know, a musk deer smells the sweet smell of musk. And to find it, sometimes runs here, sometimes runs there, sometimes runs there. It doesn't realize that the musk that is smelling is coming from deep within ourselves. It's the same thing with us. We want to be happy. We want to be joyous. We want to be in a state of bliss. And all of that is within ourselves. If we would focus within, we would be in that state. But instead of doing that, we are focusing on the world outside. And so saints and mystics are telling us that put relaxation, put a vocation into your day-to-day activities so you can relax. So what is meditation? Meditation is nothing more than taking our attention from the world outside, focusing it within ourselves, and being able to enjoy and experience what God has given us. Deep within ourselves is the Holy Word. It has two primal manifestations, that being the divine light and the divine sound of God. And as we go within and as we connect with that divine light, there's happiness and joy because our soul is getting nourished. You know, we live in an age which is very scientific. And so when we read the scriptures, we talk, oh, whether is it true or someone just wrote it like that. Because unless we have the experience, science doesn't believe in something. So what does science do? Science proposes a theory, and then it does an experiment, and the experiment either confirms the theory or contradicts the theory, and then we say, okay, this experiment was done, and this is what happens, and this is why this theory is correct. You know, in the old days, people used to say that the earth is stationary and the sun is going around the earth. That's what people believed 500-600 years ago. And then, as scientists realized, no, this is not what is happening. The sun is stationary, but the earth is going around the sun. They changed their theories. Just recently, I think a year or two ago, they took one of those, there used to be, I think, 7 or 9 celestial bodies. Now they're saying there's only 8 because one they say is not big enough. So science keeps on changing based on what they experiment. And so on the spiritual side, spirituality is also very scientific. It's not like blind faith. Saints tell us that the hypothesis in spirituality is that there is God, and we as a human being are a part of God, and we can connect with God if we go within by connecting with what is called the divine light and sound of God. So meditation is the experimentation of testing that hypothesis. And so when you meditate and you close your eyes, what is it that you experience? So in this day and age, where science is so strong, in the last 25 years, a new field in science has come up. It's called a field of near-death experiences. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but this has been out in the last more 25, 30 years. There have been people who've had what are called near-death experiences. These are people who came very close to death. They were either in a physical trauma, or they were in a hospital in a surgical table having some surgery. And all of a sudden, they realized an existence beyond the physical. They realized that their body was on the surgical table, but they were up because, and not only did they realize this existence, they could see the doctors and the nurses working frantically on their body. Not only could they see them, they could hear what was happening. And then they talked about going through the wall of the operating table and seeing their loved ones who were sitting in the waiting rooms. And then many talked about being hundreds of miles away and meeting their friends. And then what is very interesting is all of them talked about being in a region of light, being in an area where they had tremendous light. And as they experienced the light, many talked about having a life review. You know, in our Eastern philosophies and our Eastern religions, we believe in Dharam Rai taking care or looking at our lekha or our karmas as to what we did. So these people who had this experience talked about having a life review, and not only having a life review, but being able to experience what they had done. So if they had brought some happiness to someone, they could feel the happiness that they had brought. If they had brought some pain to someone, they could feel that pain. And not only that, irrespective of whether they brought happiness or pain to someone, they were loved by what they call a being of light, who embraced them and who told them that the law of the universe was the law of love. That when we gave love, we got love in return. And so even though that experience was just for a few moments, these people were totally changed by their experiences. You know, when they came back into the body, even though many of them talk about not wanting to come back, even though they had wives and husbands and children and parents and brothers and sisters, they said that the love that they found in being in that presence of light was so tremendous, they didn't want to come back. But it wasn't their time to go, so they were sent back to the body. And so they started talking about their experiences. Today there are over 200 books on the subject. The first one was by Dr. Raymond Moody called Life After Life. And one of the greater researchers on this subject is Dr. Melvin Morse. He's in Seattle in America. And so he came to our ashram in Chicago about 3 years ago. And we had an interesting talk for about a couple of hours. And he wanted to get a spiritual insight into what was happening. And what is very interesting is that he's come up with a book called Transformed by the Light. And that book talked about the experiences of these people and the transformation that had happened in their life 10 years after the experience. And what is very interesting is that all of these people's life was changed. Many of them changed their professions to go into those professions which are kind of social professions, like the medical arena, people at the social level, caring professions. Many people started going more to the places of worship, whether it be churches or synagogues or temples or gurdwaras or mosques. They became more religious. They started to focus towards God. And what is very interesting is they were much more happier and calmer than they ever were before. And so today, as we sit, one wonders, do we need to have a near-death experience to know God? Or can we experience God without having to go through the physical trauma? You know, if you read the scriptures, if you read the writings of the great saints and mystics, they're all full of what are called mystical experiences. And these experiences are not only coming from the East, or the saints from the East. Their writings are full of them. They're also saints who came in the West, and their writings are also full of what are mystical experiences. These are experiences of the soul. Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj has very beautifully written about what this experience is like. He says, खाक से ताबा क्या कशा हमने तो जब किया सफर इश्क मिला कदम कदम हुस्न मिला नजर नजर. He says, when I traveled from the earthy to the heavenlies, I found love at every step and beauty in every glance. So this journey to the regions within is a journey of love, and this is why when you read the scriptures, all the scriptures say, those who love are the ones who find God. Love in its deepest sense is the love between our soul and God. Our soul is full of the love of God. It's a drop of the ocean of all love. Unfortunately, it's been separated, so as it connects with God, it experiences that love. And this is why, as we find the love of the Lord, we get closer and closer to God. And so meditation is a means by which we experience the love of God. Meditation is a means by which we withdraw our attention from the world outside, collect our sensory currents here at what is called the seat of the soul. As we collect them here, then we are uplifted into the regions beyond. Right now what is happening is, we are operating through our level of senses. We have a sense of sight, we have a sense of hearing, we have a sense of smell, we have a sense of taste, and then we have a sense of touch. Our body has thousands of senses all over in the skins, and it's through these 5 senses that we operate. Scientists are telling us that 83% of what we do on a day-to-day basis is based on our sense of sight. That's a predominant sense. 14% of what we do on a day-to-day basis is based on our sense of hearing. That's the next dominant sense. And only 3% of our activities are based on a sense of smell, taste, and touch. And so it's through these senses that we are operating in this world. And because these senses are having us operate with others in this physical world, those are the colors and those are the hues in which we're getting colored. And so the saints say we need to withdraw our attention, collect our sensory currents here at the seat of the soul, because this is the gateway which is not opening into the world outside but opens into the spiritual region. And this has been called the Dasma Dwar, or the single eye, or the third eye, or the Shiv Netra, or the Nukta Esaveda, or the seat of the soul. There are various names given in various languages to that opening which has us enter the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is within us. God is within ourselves. We need to invert to be able to find God. So meditation is a means by which we can go within, we can connect with the divine power within. Now to sit for meditation, what we do is we find a quiet place to meditate. So if the place would be quiet, our sense of hearing would be automatically withdrawn. Then most people generally sit down to meditate, even though this is a purely spiritual practice. When we sit, we want to be sure that no part of our body touches someone else. If any part of our body is touching someone else, then if they move, we would be distracted. So whether we sit on the chair or on the floor, on the sofa, and many people can sit together and meditate, we need to be sure that no part of our body touches someone else, because meditation is a one-to-one experience with God. We don't change the atmosphere. So we leave the atmosphere the way it is, so our sense of smell is withdrawn very easily. We definitely are not going to eat as we meditate, so our sense of taste is withdrawn. And then we close our eyes to withdraw a sense of sight. So by finding a quiet place, sitting down, closing our eyes, it's very easy to withdraw our 5 senses. Now when we close our eyes, we should make sure that our eyeballs are straight. Focus 8 or 10 inches in front of us. Many people think that the seat of the soul is here, they try to raise their eyeballs. But those of you who are scientific, you would understand easily that if you raise your eyeballs, you're going to put pressure on your forehead, which will generally culminate in a headache. What we are going to see within is not with these eyes. These are made of flesh and blood. These are only there to put impressions of the world outside on our retina, which is going to send signals to the brain, so the brain can decipher the information and do accordingly. As an example, let's say you're driving, and if you're driving on the road and you see a truck coming right at you, so your eyes are seeing the truck coming right at you, you know there'll be an accident, it sends a signal to your brain, and so brain will automatically decipher it and move your arms to move your car away so that you don't get into an accident. So these eyes are only there to see things of this physical world. What we want to see inside is the spiritual worlds. we just close them so we don't get distracted, even though in history you find saints who could meditate with their eyes open. But they were very, very concentrated. To get there is not that easy. So as a beginner, you close your eyes, but make sure they're just closed so your eyeballs are straight and you don't have any more pressure on any part of your forehead or any part of the body. As you close your eyes, interesting things are going to happen. All of a sudden, you will be bombarded by thoughts. Thoughts about your business, thought about your family, thought about your past, thought about your future, thought about your children, thoughts that you've never had before. Why? Because the mind, which is in the body, does not want us to know God. So it puts a distraction. It is a very easy mechanism. It just sends a thought to us. As soon as we get a thought, we are engrossed in the thought, and then we can't go anyplace else. Now the mind is a devil's workshop. We've all read this when we were little. Because the mind, as soon as it stays calm, cannot stay calm. It's just like mercury. Those of you who have been in chemistry labs would know that if you see mercury in a test tube, it's never still. It's always shaking a little bit. So it's the same thing with the mind. It doesn't stay still. It's always wanting to do something. And so the mind needs to be tackled with very, very carefully. I like to relate an interesting story. There was a young man, and as a young man, he wanted to be rich overnight. We all want to become rich. And so one day he happened to be walking on the beach, and a bottle was floating on the beach. He got hold of the bottle, opened up, and a genie came out. And the genie came out, and the genie said, I can do anything for you. You are so good that I have been stuck in this bottle for 1100 years. You are giving me freedom, so I'll do anything for you. But since I've been stuck for 1100 years, I'm very, very hungry. So if you don't keep me busy, I eat anything that comes in front of me. And so the person says, oh, that's not a problem. I can give you many things to do. Because he thought to himself, the genie, he can do anything for me. I have so many things that I want. So he said, okay, I want you to build me a palace. I'll make sure it got 100 rooms and it should be this big and this big. And so he thought the genie would take many years. And in 5 days the genie came back. He said, okay, this palace is built. He says, okay, I want you to bring me this big jewel from this country. And so that came in a couple of days. And as things are going on, he's running out of things that he can ask the genie to do. And he's very, very worried that if the genie has nothing to do, he's going to eat me up. So he starts to find out, what can I give him to do? And these stories are, there's a wise old man that he goes to. He goes to a wise old man and he asks him, what can I do? So he said, tell the genie to put a big pole in front of the palace and tell him that whenever you have no work for him, he should go up the pole and down the pole, and up the pole and down the pole, and up the pole and down the pole. And that's what we have to do with the mind. Our mind is like this genie. It can be very helpful to us, just like the saying that the mind is a good servant, but very bad master. If we give it things to do, it could be helpful. If we leave it on its own, it could be very, very dangerous for us, because it keeps us away from knowing ourselves and knowing God. And so the key that all the saints have come out, whether they are from the East and the West, is to use this characteristic of the mind and have it do something. So what do we have the mind do? We want to know our Maker, we want to know God. We have the mind repeat God's name. And that is what is called Simran. Simran is nothing more than repeating God's name. So as soon as we close our eyes, mentally, not out loud, because if we would repeat God's name out loud, our ears would hear the voice and we would be distracted on the outside. So we have the name of God repeated mentally, so our mind is occupied in repeating God's name. Now when the mind is occupied in repeating God's name, it doesn't have the energy to send thoughts to us. And it's in that state when our body is stilled, when all our sensory currents are withdrawn, when our mind is not sending thoughts to us, that we connect with the divine power within, and we start to experience the light of God. In the beginning, in the darkness, we see like flashes of light, circles of light, lights of various colors. It could be golden, it could be white, it could be red, blue, green, yellow, orange, or any other color. In the beginning, it seems like they're coming and going, or they're circles of light. But with time, they stabilize. So what actually is happening is that the light of God is within each and every one of you. As you concentrate, you experience the light. As you're distracted, you experience darkness. And so with time, as your concentration is improving more and more and more, you're experiencing the light more and more and more. And that's why it looks stable, and then you go beyond the light to a sky full of stars and a moon and a sun, and then many, many other vistas within. And as we experience the divine light within, the joys of being with the light is what stills the body. And not only does that happiness and joy stay with us for the time that we are experiencing the light, but it stays for long periods of time, so that the stillness that we find in being in that state is going to last and last and last. And the effects are that our brain waves, which are generally working at like 20 hertz, 20 cycles per second, come down. This is a normal state. They first come down to waves which are between 8 and 12 hertz, which is called the beta state, where one is more calm, more creative. And then the true meditative state is where we go between 4 and 8 hertz. We call the theta state, where the body is totally relaxed. And that relaxation that comes to the body is what makes us more concentrated, more focused. Our decisions come to be better and more loving and caring. And so as we attain those states, not only are they there just for the time when we are meditating, but for long periods of time, so that the peacefulness and the happiness and the joy and the bliss that we find within not only stays with us, but it radiates from us to our families, from our families to our communities, from our communities to our cities and countries, and then hopefully to the globe. And so if a few of us are peaceful here, and few of us are peaceful here, and few of us are peaceful here, and if we start to radiate around, hopefully we would be living in a world where there would be happiness and joy. So I would like you to try this technique for about 5 minutes. And then if you like it, you can try it in your homes. So if you would all just sit as comfortably as you can, and then close your eyes very gently, just like you close them when you go to sleep. Make sure your eyeballs are straight. Focus 8 or 10 inches in front of you. As you close your eyes, repeat any name of God you feel comfortable with. Just mentally, not out loud, just mentally. But keep all your attention in front. In the darkness, with time, you start to connect with light. It could be golden, it could be white, it could be yellow, orange, green, or any other color. Now, whatever you experience, just focus in the middle of it, and you might be experiencing many, many other vistas within. I pray to God Almighty and to the three great masters of past century, Hazur Baba Sawan Singh Ji Maharaj, Param Sant Kirpal Singh Ji Maharaj, and the gracious Master Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, to help each and every one of us here connect with the divine power within, and to have us experience the divine light in its effulgence. So we sit for about 5 minutes. I'll be getting you out of this meditative state, and my best wishes are with each and every one of you. Please leave off. When we sit for a few minutes like we did, we can connect with the divine power within. If you go home and try this technique for about half an hour, you'll find the peace, the joy of being within coming to you. And as you sit regularly, God's grace will be there, that your connection with the divine makes it such that your outer life is going to get more concentrated, peaceful, and joyous. So I'm very, very happy to be here today, and I pray to God that each and every one of you here has the blessings of the Lord, so that your life is geared in the right direction, and that your attention is focused not only on the physical and the mental, but also on the spiritual, because as Sant Kirpal Singh Maharaj often say, on spiritual health depends the health of the body and mind. And today, we know that all around the globe, there are many experiments done where meditation is actually a remedy which has been prescribed by doctors for people who have heart problems, digestive problems, all kinds of physical problems, because they feel like the calmness in the body is what is going to help our physical and our mental states. Thank you very much.